All right, good day, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon to all. John Wazinski here. I am the Executive Director of America Makes. I am going to be walking through our OIB Modernization Challenge. Oh,
No, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
so
That'd be awesome.
hopefully-
You're good.
Sorry, my screen got screwed up here all of a sudden somehow. You can see my screen, right? Sorry, I'm messed up here.
Yep.
All right, so
See
we're
the
gonna
first
walk
slide
through. I'm gonna thank you. I'll walk through, give an overview of the way the RFP is documented. The intention is to give folks the opportunity to then ask questions at the end of this. So if you can submit your questions, Zane will walk me through those at the end. We've got quite a few people signed up for this, so we will hammer through and get rolling, hopefully. Come on, next slide. All right, sorry, my screen was not cooperating. What is the objective of this OIB Modernization Challenge? So the program overall is put in place to help transition advanced manufacturing technologies into organic facilities. So organic meaning Department of Defense, Department of War, and agency, DoD agency facilities. It is being funded through OSD R&E, through the ManTech program, with the interest of transitioning advanced manufacturing technology into existing sites. So an example is, how do we transition a additive manufacturing capability into a particular depot, arsenal, fleet readiness center, air logistics center, et cetera, that type of connection point through a pilot line development or some actual transition of tech into these sites. And ultimately, and we'll get into some more detail about what are the requirements around that. There are a series of what they're being called special topic areas, or STAs. The next slide, or a couple slides from now, we'll document what those individual.
The what? So I think the one we wanted was up here.
Can folks go ahead and mute, or Zane, can you mute everyone?
Yep.
Awesome. So we'll walk through the special topic areas here in a second. These came out of the DoD, so they ultimately put this challenge together. This challenge is being made available across the defense MII network, so all of the DoD sponsored or aligned institutes are working on this in some form or fashion. The project teams, when you build a team, it's important, or not just important, but critical, that you identify which of these topical areas or multiple topical areas you're going to address, and make sure that you're including that in your submission to us. The special topic areas, these are all exactly what they are in the RFP. I'm assuming if you signed up for this, you have read these. The intention of this webinar is to not read you the RFP, but to try to make sure things are clear that are documented within that RFP. So main takeaway here is, we, America Makes, are the Additive Manufacturing Institute. So there has to be a connection to, or a way that you are leveraging additive manufacturing in the proposed approach that you are pushing forward to us, America Makes, as an institute. If it is squarely a different technology and not leveraging additive in any way, then America Makes is not the right pathway for submission of that idea. Not to say that it's not a great idea, but it's important that we are submitting concepts through that are leveraging additive manufacturing. So that's a key takeaway here that we need to make sure everyone is crystal clear on. The
John,
list of the
quick.
Yep.
Can you cut the video feed? It seems like some people are getting some choppiness in the audio. Try to limit the bandwidth here.
Yep.
Sorry about that.
No worries. Hopefully that is better. Let me know if it is not. I don't know what I will do, but let me know if it continues to be poor.
We'll keep an eye on the chat. Appreciate it.
Thanks, folks. The next, or the 10 or I guess 8 or 9 bullets there are the different areas where they're looking for concept to be submitted in. So again, it's about making that connection between additive manufacturing to support one of those or multiple, and that's another key takeaway here. It doesn't have to be just one of these STAs. It can be a collection of them, but it also doesn't have to be a collection of them. It can be one that you're squarely addressing. There is a catch-all at the bottom, which is a other category where, you know, it's ultimately up to you as a proposer to submit a concept and explain why it is relevant and provide the justification for it. So takeaway from this slide is really AM focused or AM enabled, AM leveraged against these STAs, and it has to be one or some number of them. And if it is in the other category, it is on you to provide that justification for how you believe and why you believe it meets the intention of this overall project call objective. So down that's the second bullet that's listed here. You'll may be wondering, because there are some, you know, clearly things like robotics are called out. You will not see additive manufacturing directly called out in here. I think it's not too hard to make the connection between where additive fits in and how additive can be either an enabler or potentially the technology by which we prove some of these things, or maybe even combine it with other technologies to deliver a particular solution. So although it is not specifically called out as a, you know, them looking for additive manufacturing machines, it is ultimately up to the team to build out a approach that delivers a capability to the DoD addressing the modernization goals that are outlined here. So I think hopefully that's pretty clear. The next slide talks through industry participation and commitment. So the takeaways here. So how do you construct a team, or what is the approach to building a team? Each team has to contain at least at least one industry organization that is able to. So you don't. What that's saying is you have to have obviously at least a organization to be a team. You don't need 10. You don't necessarily. There's no particular prescription that works. You just have to make sure that industry is engaged and you're capable of delivering against the 3 bullets that are listed here. You know, we have, you know, we're putting this effectively on the community and membership to identify the use cases. You know, where can you provide a use case that will help shape the overall project submission that gets put forward, be able to conduct and deliver against the, you know, an actual demonstration in an operational environment. So you'll hear this a couple of times. This is really about making that connection between or of technology insertion into a OIB site. That into an OIB site is critical to what is a winning formula for a team here, or for a approach rather. And you also need to provide the business rationale and justification for why you are pursuing the development of this particular approach. We're also looking, so another really important point is the second bullet, and I want to make sure we're crystal clear on what we're saying here. You know, what we've heard loud and clear from the sponsor and the, you know, from OSD R&E, who is funding this activity, that we have to make sure that there is somebody who is willing to receive the approach that you're proposing. So they're looking for, so as it's written, all submissions are encouraged to include a commitment from a military service or OIB site. So what we're ideally looking for here is somebody who is wanting what you believe needs to be delivered. So we're looking for a specific tech transition partner that agrees that they want what you're trying to provide. And although that might sound pretty, elementary, one of the things that is challenging, and I think we all run into this, is being able to get connected to that right person in a military installation. So ideally, we're encouraging folks to get letters of commitment such that it ensures tech transition and ultimate integration into that facility. So there's the real one of the takeaways here is this is not about science projects in any way. This is about delivering a solution that results in a capability within a OIB site. So if you are getting a letter of commitment, it has to be endorsed by either the site commander, or if you're looking to approach it from a kind of a headquarters or enterprise approach, it needs to either have a general officer or flag officer or an SES member to sign that letter of support. At the end of the day, submissions that have letters of commitment from somewhere are going to be viewed more favorably and scored higher than those that don't. That is not to say that it is impossible to submit an idea that you do not have that for, but we are strongly encouraging for you to bring that along with your submission when you're turning them in. And I'll talk a little bit more about that here in a couple of slides. On the TRL MRL, I guess from the TRL MRL point of view, we have to make sure, as I just mentioned, this is not about science projects. It has to be at a minimum of a MRL TRL 4, really looking for significant advancement, and really, at the end of the day, it would be a submission where we're looking to mature technology, where there's a need for investment, where it's proven, but maybe we can't get it over the finish line to finalize tech transition onto a particular site. That's really what this is all about when it's all said and done. Proving out, not pilot demonstrations, but a capability into a operational environment within the OIB. That's really the takeaway. So no early stage basic research, or even I would say lower stage MRL TRL, unless there's some absolutely rock solid approach and strong buy-in from somebody on site and a clear pathway documented that you can demonstrate success. Those are going to be the things that you need to really think about as you're building your white paper for this. What is the funding and period of performance as a program? So this is not one thing to make sure we're all clear on. This is not a America Makes only opportunity. So this is being executed across the DOW Institute network. So this is a an R&E ManTech funded activity. There is approximately $300 million of funding available for the whole pool, if you will, to support these OIB modernization activities. A typical award, so I'd say that what we've been told to target, and all the institutes have been told to target, is in that kind of $10 to $15 million neighborhood. We did ask a clarifying question. It is, I believe, updated onto the FAQs at this point, and I encourage you to regularly check those. That we are getting a number of questions in there and responding to them. Larger concepts will be considered as long as you're able to provide proper justification. So larger concepts up to $25 million. So if you can prove, or if you can communicate the impact is significant, or significant enough to exceed that $10 to $15 million number, and why a $25 million investment is warranted, and you're able to justify that, it will be reviewed by the team. Maximum period of performance is 2 years or 24 months. Schedule of events. same as what's in the RFP. Won't spend a ton of time on this, but we are requiring submissions to be up to us 5 p.m. Eastern, even on April 2nd. So the requirement is a white paper or concept paper and a quad chart. There is a template, I believe, for the quad chart out there for you to access, and requirements around, and I'll cover that in a second, of what's needed within the concept paper. We will then notify teams within that month of the down selected concepts that will be then worked to ultimately submit to Department of War as part of our concept or our package as America makes of concepts to DoD. DoD are anticipating final selections to be released on August 1st is what we're targeting, with projected start dates of programs, new fiscal year, October 1, 2026. So plan is pretty short term, get submissions in. We will review, down select, work with teams, turn in final refined submissions if needed to Department of War and those that have been selected. And then within a couple of months, we will be notified if any of our teams have been asked to move forward. We will work towards contracting them with the anticipation of getting this going October 1. I kind of read ahead here a little bit unintentionally. This slide reviews the submission and review process. One note here, item number 1, pre-submission. And we've done this in the past with the challenges that we have supported through OSD. We are looking for you to reach out to us if you are considering submitting for this program. So there's an email. This is included in the RFP or RFI that we have out on the street. Project call at americamakes.us. Please submit your concept to that as soon as you can. If you are thinking about or want to have a conversation about a particular concept, we're simply asking for a quick summary of what that is and get it over to us. One, so we can have an understanding of what the population looks like and ideas that are coming in. And 2, if you've got, as we're working with teams to make sure they're falling within eligibility, the faster you can reach out to us, the quicker we can make sure that people are submitting in a way on April 2nd, that they meet eligibility requirements. I walked a bit through the process already, but we will review the submitted documents, check for compliance. Those that meet the compliance requirements and structure will go into the peer review and down selection, and then ultimately we will submit concepts, final selected concepts forward for award. And then at that point, it will be up to the DoD to determine which, if any, submissions get funded out of that process, or if there's any back and forth. So that's what we know as of right now. What is required in the actual concept packet and the evaluation criteria, so pretty cut and dry, not a full 20-page technical proposal like many of our projects calls ask for. This is effectively a 5-page written concept paper covering what is the problem, explaining tech approach and methodology, and walking through the benefits. So impact and tech transition. So again, remember the focus of this effort is about getting that advanced manufacturing technology transitioned into the OIB. There's then a template provided that's self-explanatory for what is required within that. We are requiring that at the time of submission as well. So when you submit your project concept or your concept paper, You will need to accompany it with a quad chart using our template that is provided. Then they will be evaluated against these four evaluation criteria around making sure that they are the relevance to the special topic area or areas, depending on how you choose to do that, quality of the approach and methodology, quality of KPP and metrics, and then finally the impact and tech transition plan. On the membership eligibility side, or who can submit and be considered as part of this. So this is not new, very similar to the approach we have followed for quite some time. We are requiring the lead proposal. So that is the organization that we commonly refer to as the principal investigator, be a current member of the Institute in good standing and paid in full by March 26th of this year. There are details on what that very specific term in good standing mean out there and available to you. If you've got any questions, we can point you to that. There is quite a bit of information on our website under this, / membership section. There is, and this is all in line with how we run pretty much every project call. We are, from a cost share point of view, you can apply cost share that you accrue in the project for future membership, but you can't try to claim what you're proposing as cost share for your membership for, for instance, to become a member. So that question pretty regularly comes up as we're going through this. One other note that's important here is foreign membership. The process of foreign membership approval typically takes approximately, or I'll say at a minimum, 3 weeks to complete. So recognizing that this is maybe just a day or two over 3 weeks from now, you'd very much be cutting it close if you've not started that process already. And just my last bullet here, just want to make sure I cover it. Any non-America Makes members contributing to the proposed execution are not permitted to participate in project teams. So this is, again, language that is very common in our project calls. If you are a non-member who is involved in a project team submission, where you're able to participate is restricted. So effectively, you can work on the specific tasking that is required of you, but you are not able to be pulled into the content that is to be for the project team that of the America Makes membership. So I guess the takeaway there is your visibility into the overall project is going to be limited, and that is required by, or the project lead is the one who has to manage that to make sure that those rules are adhered to. But again, that's very common. Not very common. That is the way we run every project. So none of that should be new to anyone. On the eligibility side here, lead has to be a member and then is ultimately responsible for the entire project team and subcontractor performance. So the way, again, in line with the way the majority of the projects are run, lead proposer has to be registered in SAM.gov, have a cage code and a UEI number before submitting the proposal. We cannot accept we're working it, it's in process, we promise it will be done. If it's not in place when it is submitted with valid dates, then we will not be reviewing it. It will be viewed as non-eligible, therefore not reviewed. The information in the proposal, or the proposal team acknowledges that information on the project will be shared. So again, very, very common. This is how we raise the body of knowledge for the Institute. and its membership broadly, including government, industry, academia. Proposal teams are required to identify the construct of the team, what their relationships are, all of that has to be disclosed. So again, all of this is very much in line with the way we've run projects for years. Last two things to maybe call out here, just to make sure we put a fine point on, because again, these things come up pretty much every project call. Foreign nationals that you are wanting to use on within your proposal need to be called out very specifically and deliberately. So it has to be documented who they are, why they need to be used, where they fit into the technical approach, and then that has to be approved. And it, keep in mind that it might not be approved, but it has to be approved before we will be able to move forward with the program. So again, these are eligibility requirements we've had for quite some time now, but this one continues to come up. People propose teams, they get reviewed. If they're approved, we move on. If not, then they have to sort that out, which we don't want to have to be sorting things out. There is a list of countries called out that are prohibited. Again, this is not new by any means. So foreign nationals from these countries are not eligible. So you need to make sure you're considering that while you are constructing your team. And with that, any questions by anyone? And Zane, I don't know if you've got, I can stop sharing, I guess, and see if I can see the questions.
Cole has been going through and answering some questions in the chat. I'm actually going to pass it over to Cole to kind of run the Q&A through you, as I'm sure he has some better perspective on what needs clarified and what does not.
Yep.
Yeah,
Cole,
to start, John. Yep. Can people submit POPs shorter than the 24 months?
Yes, absolutely.
All right, and similar to that, can they submit for less than that sort of $10 to $15 million mark and say a $7 to $10 million mark?
Absolutely, yes. Yeah, I think that is a target. To maybe expand more than I should, it is, if you've got Commander XYZ and they are clearly in need of something and are willing to sign the letter that says, we need this, this is why, you can document that, the need, objective, approach, impact, etc., and it is less than that number and faster, go after it. Those are purely just, part of why we believe, and this is, I'll say speculation, but is to make sure there are enough resources to truly drive impact. So the whole reason that they're looking for letters is to make sure that this is not somebody with a great idea, but you don't have buy-in on, effectively the shop floor. So we won't see implemented or won't be used after it's installed. So this has to be addressing a true need. So if it's outside of that number, just the same, if it is a impactful or enterprise level solution that is beyond that number, that's why we asked the clarifying question. And that's when they came back with the up to $25 million. If you can explain to us why that level of resource is needed and the impact that it will have for us, it will be considered. So long answer, but yes to the question.
Can they propose a program that involves multiple MIIs?
Yes, absolutely.
Stephanie, to answer your question of how much info we went from the summary and the concept, I think John had gotten that slide immediately after your question, but that's all laid out in the RFP, the level of information we're looking at for each section.
Well, that was for the 5-pager, but before we submitted, you asked for us to reach out by email with the topic and a summary. What are you looking for reaching out ahead of time to make sure we align?
Yep. So Just kind of a high-level summary of the concept, estimated budget, and your estimated period of performance. And just
Okay,
so
so like
everyone's
a
aware,
paragraph.
yep, that'd be good.
Okay.
And just so everybody knows, when you email that project call, that comes to my inbox, just to make everybody aware.
All right. I just didn't know if you wanted a one page or if there was a template for that, but it doesn't sound like it. So we're good.
No,
Thanks.
no template. All right, so do they need a partner or flag officer statement of need at the time of initial proposal, or is that to be submitted at a later date?
It is needed at, so just to make sure, and please jump in and either jump off, and ask the question or go to the chat if needed. But if by initial proposal you mean that what Stephanie and Cole were just discussing, that one paragraph submission, no, it is not needed then. If by initial proposal you mean due on April 2nd, if you are going to be providing one, yes, it is, I'll say, ideal to be there. We are acknowledging that there may be cases where you can't get that done and you are looking for help from our organization to run a owner to ground. So find that point of insertion. At the end of the day, this is heavily dependent on you knowing where this is needed, but we also acknowledge that there are situations where that, so again, that's why our language is encouraged, and they will be viewed more favorably if you have it. If you cannot get that, they are still going to be reviewed. And if it is determined, and ultimately from our organization's point of view, we will be looking to see if we know that that's a fit at this particular air logistics center and you just don't have those connections. That's part of the, where we believe we can be valuable and make those connections for you. So there is a pathway where not having that could still lead to a successful award or submission and award. Also, an important reason why submitting where you're what this is and where you're targeting as soon as possible is helpful, as we may be able to point you in a direction of where to go with a particular concept. Does that address your question, whomever asked that? Awesome.
It was confirmed, John, yes.
Right. Harshal asked, how important or impactful is that letter of support, or is that just like a checkbox item? I'll chime in. Harshal, if you have that letter at the time of submission, it is very impactful, as it shows that you already have that buy-in from the organic industrial base.
Yeah. Yes, and that's really the key. We're not going to be able to go chase, dozens and dozens of ideas and try to run them to ground in a couple of weeks. So you're much more likely to be successful if you've got that, you have that, and are able to get someone to buy in or, provide that letter up front.
Okay, are the concepts that we down select and submit the same package that we'll send on to DoD? Yes, it is going to be the same. We may go back to a proposer or submitter with questions, but it will be the same general white paper and quad chart. Okay. So Jonathan's asking, do these proposals need to be specific to DoD additive manufacturing applications, or will you also consider DOE applications?
It has to be, there's potentially a fine line and a story that you could weave together, but this is, so I'd say particularly in a couple of areas, but this is DoD funding. DoD organic industrial base needs to be the target. There may be some adjacent connection to DOE, but it has. So if you're suggesting implement a AM widget machine on Oak Ridge and no other connection, that would not be eligible. If they needed to be, if somehow connected to it and there was a way to document that, then it's potentially considered, but this is DoD focused and intention is DoD implementation.
If something is going through another DOW funding process but has not been funded, can that be submitted?
Without knowing what the specifics are, yes. I mean, we'll just leave it at yes. Yes. I mean, the key there is, ideally somebody is co-signing, providing that letter of support. So if it's already something that's in pursuit and money is coming, then I would not think they would view that very favorably. But I'm assuming this is a nuanced case. So again, it will go back to that. Are you able to get a letter of commit or a letter of support?
Right. Is the expectation to have the concept installed and functional in the OIB site by the end of the POP?
Yes.
See, I lost my place here when messages came through. You mentioned ALCs. Are other service ideas considered?
Yes, absolutely. So your aperture as wide as Department of War and Army, Navy, Air Force, etc. installations. So depots, arsenals, air logistics centers, fleet readiness centers, et cetera, et cetera. So any of those are on the table. And ultimately, this is in a lot of ways relying on your relationships and understanding of their need and how your tech can support that. So yes, is the short answer.
Are OIB referrals possible from initial concept? Bryce, if you mean that sort of initial email you send us, it is a possibility. That's kind of part of why we want to start those conversations early. It gives our team enough time to go back and look at our resources and see. So Carl asked, how much budget detail is required for the concept paper? I would say it's sort of a rough high level budget, Carl. Detailing any of the costing, like say if there's equipment involved and things like that.
Are you expecting us to submit the regular American Makes budget sheet for each sub, or is this just an Excel sheet with rough numbers?
This can be an Excel sheet with rough numbers. And that's part of after this deadline, if we need to go back for any type of clarifications, we'll have time to get more information.
Okay.
So are non-US citizens, but green card holders allowed to be on the team? So US persons, that's yes, they are allowed to be on the team. So here, John, I have one for you. So are existing America Makes partnerships like Astro America or AM Forward considered support, although not directly DOW?
If that is, and whoever asked, please jump in and ask more clearly. If they're referring to support equals letter of support from the government, no. I don't know how else to interpret that question. So their support does not equal general XYZ saying I need this at Tinker, and this is why. So I'm not sure I'm understanding the question, if that's not what the question was about.
Bryce, would you like to either extrapolate on that or come off mute and? Okay.
Hey, John and Greg Colvin. I can give you, if you don't mind, John, I give you the 30 seconds as a former, subcommittee lead for the organic and right, John, and everybody, if you don't mind, John.
Good.
There's under the rules, there's certain entities who can actually make product, right? It goes back to Economy Act of 1932. The arsenals officially can make a brand new product, right? Howitzers are often been made by Rock Island. Depots can repair. Ammunition plants like Lakeview can make ammunition, but many other entities cannot. And so they were never considered part of the OIB, even though you might have worked with them a lot. And I'm just thoughts of names like Cherry Point could do things, but maybe a Dahlgren may or may not be. I can't quite remember. But just so everybody knows, that's where Rock Island definitely has mission, right, to make things, right, John and Cole and
Yes, sir.
everybody. And the depots do, but certain entities work very closely with them, but they do not, right? And so that's why, they want the U.S. to, I suppose, John, and as you would agree, I think they want the U.S. OIBs to have more capability, especially to do things in times of, need and surge and all that kind of stuff, right, John?
Yes, sir.
But that might be helpful to folks. And the other thing I'll mention, if you don't mind, John, yeah, we've had a program lined up on something that fits right in this very well, and we've already, we have leadership kind of buy-in, but we haven't had the official approval yet. But somebody asked about teaming. We would be more than welcome to entertain other folks to tag on if they're interested. Just contact me. But it's working directly with an arsenal, and we've been working with them for a number of years on ideas, and we support them, and they support us. So I think that kind of relationship, it's hard for people to just force fit yourself in. So just as a comment, John, if you don't mind me making that, but thanks. Appreciate it.
Yep. Yeah, thanks, Greg. Cool.
Okay, so does are we talking about the letter? So does the letter have to be from a site commander or can it be from a prime? An example being a NavSup program manager versus an electric boat program manager.
It has to be from a government body, a government person. So the NavSup, yes. EB, no.
I will add in though that from the prospect of transition, if you also have a letter from the prime, that would be valuable.
And in that exact scenario, I guess I'll not color too much, but encourage you to take the next step and get connected to the person that can make sure that it gets transitioned and can buy off on it on the government side.
Will a DOW research lab work for installation referral, or does it have to be a depot?
We will take that one back to the team at OSD. I have my opinions, but I'd like to get a clearer answer.
So and I think this is worth addressing in this one, John, just because we talked about things having an AM focus. So would a robotic AI systems to manage additive manufacturing lines and scale them be considered valid, or would it be purely AM technology only?
No, that's a great example of how to leverage AM as part of a solution. It does not have, I mean, we have to, what I'm going to say could also be an option, but it is not buy machine, print parts, that kind of way of thinking only. That very well might be a solution for somebody, and it might be a beautiful solution. The integration of additive into systems and incorporating AI and robotics and maybe a whole host of other things are all 100% inbounds here. And encouraged, I would say. This is about delivering a capability that's going to be able to be leveraged within the OIB. I see. So there's a note in Cole. I don't know if you saw it came in. We'll get we'll roll that question up about the labs. There is, if folks want to refer to that, it sounds like there are instances where that could qualify due to how they're designated, but we'll get an official answer.
Let's see here. So somebody said to clarify, for instance, you would want to add capability to sites like Rock Island.
That is an example. Yes.
Does an OSD ManTech office have to be involved?
Well, I think Kyle answered that.
I think Kyle is answering the question, can a lab be considered an OIB site, if I understood Kyle correctly? If I'm that accurate, Kyle? So to the question of, so just to make sure we're not leaving any loose ends, the question around would implementation at a lab qualify and be eligible per the way the call is written. So there was a response from one of our government colleagues, and I think it depends is the answer. There are some that potentially it would based on their particular mission objectives, and others that would not. So we will work with the team at OSD to get a documented answer that we can then share. On the question that asked, does an OSD ManTech office have to be involved? My answer to that would be no. It is OSD ManTech is the funding organization to support this effort, but this is is specifically focused on organic industrial base, so site delivering capability to sites. And OSD ManTech doesn't have sites, so if I'm not interpreting that right, feel free to ask differently.
All right, I believe I've covered every question. If not, feel free to keep typing them, come off mute.
I saw, okay, there was a question in the Q&A. I see Alex answered that. There is not a specific, well, I guess, I don't know, Cole. as of today, there is no teaming tool set up as part of this call where you can go put your offering or capability out on the table. Do you have any response to that? How would you suggest people do that?
Yeah, I'm actually seeing about getting one set up based on the overwhelming response for it in this project call. So we'll be in touch and we can definitely get something either back out in this chat or out in an email blast to let you know if and when that's set up. But I see a few people in here have already put intent that they'd like to team up with somebody. So definitely feel free if you're interested, just put it in the comments here. So
Yeah, and just to add on to that, if we get it added, we have access to the attendees here on the webinar, and we will send out a blast to all of you, letting you know that it has been implemented.
And to be clear, yes, Tinker would equal a eligible partner for this challenge. So the question around, does the challenge scope include digital supply chain or material readiness solutions that support OIV manufacturing, or is it focused strictly on technologies deployed directly at depot sites? So to me, it is up to you to explain why it does qualify and it provide the offering and justification and align it to the other category. Again, this is not just put machine on floor, have capability as the only pathway. So I encourage you to closely read the focus areas to see how what you're thinking fits into that. When's Q&A for the actual challenge or this project call due?
So I'm actually just going to post the project call email here in the chat. Due to the nature of this one, we're kind of doing this on a rolling basis. So as we get questions in, we'll update them. So any questions after this webinar can be sent to the email I just posted in the chat. It's the project call at americamakes.us.
Perfect. All right, any final questions from anyone? All right, thank you all. We look forward to your fantastic submissions. Look forward to working together with you. Have a wonderful week, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
If you got questions, please make sure, don't hold them in. Make sure to ask.